Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with a two-game slate, much like the old days. A two-game slate on Thursday here for the association, and that would be the NBA. So it's going to be a quick solo show. We're going to go game by game, hit all of the pertinent information. We will have a live before lock. It's an 8 o'clock tip-off. Both these games are on TNT, so it is going to be an 8 o'clock tip-off. The live before lock should be going off around 7 o'clock. Josh Engelman and potentially a special guest. We'll have to see. Fast Eddie Fear doesn't like taking days off, but we sometimes have to force him to. But he's already saying he wants to be on this show. So without any further ado, let's get underway here. For our back-to-backs, nobody played Wednesday who is playing on Thursday. For Thursday, OKC is at Portland. On Friday, they will be at Los Angeles taking on the Clippers. Again, I'm recording this on – what day is it? I lose track of the days. Wednesday night here, but none of these teams are playing, so we don't have to worry about that. We've got a couple new offerings there over at Osmo, things you want to check out. For those of you that are not yet members, definitely look at, if you go to the homepage for Osmo, you'll see all of the different drop-downs for the various sports. And we've put up some schedules to kind of let you know all the various offerings that we have for NHL, for NBA and PGA. We're adding that for the other sports as well. But it's a breakdown of what's going to be coming out each week. What is free content? What is pay content behind the paywall? If you have not yet signed up for Osmo, use the promo code EARLYBIRD. All one word when you sign up. Choose any 1-month package, and you'll get 50% off at checkout. Heading into the games here, again, we have a pair on the slate. We've got Indiana at Milwaukee. Milwaukee is double-digit favorites. There is a 222 over-under. This is the fourth and final time that these two teams are meeting for the regular season. The Bucks are currently up 2-1. They're averaging 107 points per game in this series. The Pacers are averaging 103.7. And for what it's worth, each team has a home win by double digits. Injuries that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Nothing really major for the Bucks, but Eric Bledsoe and Malcolm Brogdon both sat out on Saturday. They both played on Monday, and they will have had 72 hours between games. So Bledsoe was out with a sore back, and Brogdon's playing through plantar fasciitis. Both should be a go as far as we know, but keep an eye out there. This is the first game, so we should know if there's any funny stuff going on. And then Sabonis has already been ruled out again with his ankle injury. He is not traveling with the team. There is a chance he could return when they play on Sunday, but the Pacers are still playing that by ear. Since the beginning of February, the Pacers and the Bucks are number 3 and number 4, respectively, with regards to defensive efficiency rating. And then Milwaukee, in that same time frame, has the 7th fastest pace, while Indiana is all the way down with the 28th fastest or 3rd slowest pace during that time. Let's take a look here at Indiana. With 4 of their 5 starters priced between $5,700 and $6,200 on DraftKings, nobody is really going to break the bank. The other starter is Wesley Matthews. He is a fine discount option at $4,300 on DraftKings for this 2-game slate. In the 9 games he has been with the Pacers, he has started all of them. He's averaging 32.5 minutes, 13.5 points per game, 2.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 1.1 combined blocks and steals. DraftKings, you get the half-point bonus for three-pointers. He is averaging 2.9 made three-pointers on his way to 23 DK points. Nothing to really get us overly excited. However, the price is nice, and he qualifies at shooting guard and small forward. And again, only 4 teams are in our player pool. Myles Turner is coming off a monster 40-burger where he had 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a career-high 7 blocked shots. He is also leading the league in blocked shots. So keep in mind, if we take that game out in the other 4 games that Sabonis has missed, Turner is averaging 28.5 minutes, just 8.5 points, 4.3 rebounds, half an assist, and 5.3 combined blocks and steals in just over 24 minutes. Now, he faced Orlando and Minnesota at home, and then was at Dallas and at Detroit. So those weren't necessarily the easiest center matchups because he's, of course, was going against Vucevic, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Drummond. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. In the 3 games that he has played the Bucks, we're seeing some nicer numbers here. He's averaging 28.5 minutes per game, 15 points, just shy of 6 rebounds, 2 assists, along with 2 combined blocks and steals for just shy of 30 DK points. So all is not lost with him. He's reasonably priced. We do know that he does have some upside. Bojan Bogdanović has been just a dead-eye this season. He's shooting 50.1% from the field, just shy of 43% from three-point range, and he is a marksman there from the free throw line at 82%. Over his last 6 games, he's averaging 25.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists, all on his way to just shy of 37 DraftKings points. That is pretty nice. He's getting a ton of shots up. I think he's averaging just shy of 6 3-point attempts per game. So that for the season. So that's something you want to consider, again, in our short player pool. Thaddeus Young, also known as the Deuce, he keeps chugging along. He has topped 32 fantasy points in 6 of his last 7. You've got Darren Collison, who's never really exciting. He's never really horrible, but it's a 2-game slate. Over his last 10 games, he's averaging right around 30 fantasy points per game. Again, Victor Oladipo has obviously been out that whole time, and Sabonis has been out for the last 5, but he has topped 35 fantasy points just once in that stretch. He's also only been below 29 fantasy points just once in that stretch. So he's been in that 30 to 35 fantasy point range the other 8 games. Moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks. Assuming everybody is healthy, we can look to the usual suspects. Not much really needs to be said about Giannis other than he is probably unlikely to play more than 32 or 33 minutes. In fact, he only played 32 minutes at Utah in that loss, and that was a relatively close game. And then he only played 34 in the loss to Phoenix, as the Suns ended up sweeping both their games, both in Milwaukee and Phoenix, against the Bucks. Basketball can be a little bit funny at times. Khris Middleton's coming off a dud, 1 for 13 from the field. The game before that against Utah, he was 8 of 24. Remember, Bledsoe and Brogdon were out of that game, so he got a few more shot attempts there. But he does contribute across the board. You know, he gives you some assists, he gives you some blocks, hustle stats, etc. So he's someone we can consider. Bledsoe continues to be solid, and it sounds like we should not have any concerns with his sore back, which kept him out of action on Saturday. Brook Lopez has been mercurial with his results. We know he does have 40 fantasy point upside when his shot is falling and when he's getting rebounds, but he can disappear when it comes to rebounds. He's averaging just 4.4 this season. That's up from 4.0 last year when he was with the Lakers, but his career average is 6.5, so that's well down. But he is getting 2.5 blocks per game over the last month. So again, he's definitely worthy of consideration. Cheapies, and I'll cover some FanDuel plays at the end of the game. I'm hoping their salaries come out before I am done recording. But depending on your side of choice, Pat Connaughton, very scoring dependent, but he's going to be in play. Ersan Ilyasova is going to be in play. And then Tony Snell's been getting minutes again. So I'm going to say it. It's a 14-player pool. We're going to have to not be happy with some of our selections here if we're going to be doing some multi-entry. Moving on to the nightcap, we have Oklahoma City at Portland. Portland is favored by 3.5 points. There is a 234 over-under in this one. This also is the 4th and final regular season meeting between these two teams, with the Thunder leading the series 3-0. They are winning by an average of 6.7 points per game. They're averaging 118 points scored against Portland, 111.3 points allowed. Paul George was back in the last game after missing 3. He played 35 minutes. Looked like he needed to work out some kinks, but the 38 minutes was good to see. Again, he was out with a shoulder issue, so he should be good to go. And then for the Trailblazers, Evan Turner was back. He had missed 5 games. He's going to play about 10 to 12 minutes per game as they get him back in shape as they head towards the postseason. Since the beginning of February, the Thunder are 14th and the Blazers are 16th in defensive rating, and and OKC is number 3 in pace, and Portland is number 20. So nice pace up spot here for Portland. Westbrook's averaging right around his season numbers with 61 fantasy points in his normal minutes in the 3 prior games. So that's good to see because he's going to be the most expensive option that we have on the slate. You've got Steven Adams, who's been on a tear recently. Now, yes, Paul George was out for 3 of those games, but Adams has been a lot more active on the boards than normal, and he's continuing to provide his blocks and steals at an above average rate when you compare his last half dozen games to the full season. Paul George, it's hard to argue the price with him on DK. He is under 10,000 for the first time since February 1st at 9,700. Dennis Schroeder he's fine off the bench. I just want you guys to know that he has topped 30 fantasy points just once in his last 10 games. When he started 2 of the 3 games that George was out, remember Markieff Morris did get a ceremonial start in the other, but I believe it was Schroeder that started the second half of that game. He's still, in only one of those games, topped 30 fantasy points, and that was the only one in the last 10. So the upside just has not really been there with him. But again, he's going to get his typical 26 to 28 minutes in a fast-paced game. So we like that. Jeremy Grant, I would prefer over Schroeder. Their prices are similar, but they are, of course, at different positions. There's plenty of people for Grant to guard on the Blazers, so I do think he will see his standard minutes, if not a few more. And then the rest of the Thunder discount dandies, they're dart throws. Who knows what's going on? If we look to Portland, Damian Lillard has clearly showed out in this matchup. He's averaging 12% more on his fantasy production in this series than he has on his season-long averages, and he's playing just a minute and a half more per game. So that is good to see. While this isn't the best matchup for Jusuf Nurkic, he has topped 40 DK points in 3 of his last 4 matchups where he and Steven Adams have taken the floor. The low was the last time they met up with 31 fantasy points. Keep in mind, Enes Kanter is back, and he is now on the Trailblazers. He was back in the last game, but he did not make the trip up to Toronto. Remember, international spies are out to get him. CJ McCollum's a fine mid-tier play. Oh, looks like we have some FanDuel pricing up. So McCollum's a fine play there on DraftKings at 6,100. You can throw him in the mix on FanDuel. I'd rather go some other directions that we'll get to in a second. And then if we're looking for the wild cards on the Trailblazers, then definitely I would rank them as such here. Al-Farouq Aminu, Mo Harkless, Jake Layman, and then Rodney Hood. Problem is with Layman and Rodney Hood is you have Evan Turner back. So that may change some things with them. Mo Harkless generally gets a little more action in this series, similar to what he does in the Houston series, but he's been dealing with knee soreness on and off this season, and that's a risk you have with him. Al-Farouq Aminu, your mileage may vary. He's looked good so far in this series this season, and they're going to need his size because they won't play Nurkic and Kanter on the floor at the same time. Let's see, now that we have the FanDuel prices up, thank you, FanDuel, for getting those posted. Looking at, we'll just go by position here, and we'll just talk about what I think the discounted options are. For point guard, I think you can look at Collison at 7,000. More people will probably go to Bledsoe, so Collison's a perfectly fine pivot there. If you're looking for an extreme punt or a drop player, Corey Joseph is at 4,000 even. At shooting guard, Wesley Matthews is 4,700. That's fine. Schroeder is at 5,800. That's okay. And then I'd rather try to find the $700 to get the Brogdon over Schroeder. But if I needed that nearly $2,000 savings, I'd go with Matthews. But Brogdon's 6,500. Let's see. Moving over here to small forward on FanDuel. Yikes. We're probably going to want at least one, if not both, of Paul George and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is going to kind of be your tournament pivot, but what are we going to pivot to here at small forward? Potentially Nikolai Mirotic. He's at 5,500. Your wild card drop, I guess, as your extreme punt would be Jake Layman. I'm not really fans of either of those guys, so it would not shock me to see Giannis and Paul George in that 60% popularity on this short 4-game slate.
Power forward on FanDuel, this is where we're going to get our savings. You've got really like Jeremy Grant at 5,600. I like Aminu at 4,900. And then, of course, Thaddeus Young is power forward eligible on FanDuel. He is at 6,600. So it looks like we're going to be saving at power forward. We're going to be spending at small forward. We're going to be either going mid-tier or trying to go 1 star, also known as Russell Westbrook, maybe Damian Lillard, and then 2 scrubs or 3 decent guys if you take Lillard. So we'll have to see what happens there. And then for punts, there's no real punt on FanDuel here once you get down past Turner and past Steven Adams. I guess you could look to Enes Kanter if you want to drop your center spot here, which I don't think is the worst idea. So when you're doing something like that where it's just one player at the position, which this only comes into play with center, you want to figure out if Kanter is going to be your drop, how much do you think the other center options are going to score? And is your the rest of your lineup construction going to make up that particular difference? So that is something that you'll want to give some thought to. Now we can get into some three cheapies. You could go with Kanter, Wesley Matthews, and Corey Joseph, and then you could get the 3 top guys in Lillard, Giannis, and Westbrook, and then sort out the rest of your lineup. Maybe Paul George instead of Lillard, but I haven't really done any lineup construction there. That's going to be up to you guys. It's going to be short and sweet today, like I mentioned. But again, check out some of the new offerings that we have here at Awesemo. You can use the promo code EARLYBIRD to get 50% off your first month of any 1-month package. That does include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. Just use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, when you sign up. When you hit that join button up at the top left of the page, it'll get you to that section. Just put your information in, and you will be off and running. That'll get you Slack. It'll get you all the projections. We have MMA projections, which did me nicely last week when they were unveiled. We've got NASCAR projections, NHL projections, and then, of course, PGA and NBA. And we're already toying around with MLB, so that's right around the corner. With that, gamers, you could follow me at EMACDFS. It is Awesemo_COM on the Twitter machine. Good luck.